Alright, so first monster that we're going to be painting as part of the Nemesis box game here is going to be the Larva. So they're kind of like the face huggers from Alien, and so we're going to paint them similarly. First thing we want to do is paint the base. That's going to be easy enough. We're just going to use black contrast paint mixed with a little bit of primer. And we just want to get that on the base. Okay, doesn't take too long. And these are going to be, we're going to add slime and blood and all kinds of fun stuff to these. So it's alright if you get some of this black somewhere you don't really necessarily want it. That's okay. We'll cover it up with some special effects later. Okay, great. So there's that. And it's okay if it's not down in all the little holes. We're going to be doing an oil wash later, and that'll fill those holes in really, really well. Okay. So what I've mixed up is a mix, basically a 1-to-1 mix of contrast Gilliman flesh and contrast Agaros dunes, and we're gonna mix that up. I've got it on my palette over here off screen, and we're just gonna slather these bug guys with that mix. We're gonna be able to darken these down, alien them up, so they don't just look like, you know, yellowish brown turds. We're going to be doing some detail work on these, some edge highlighting. We really want the details to stand out because, as you can see, even just with the contrast paint, we've got some blobbiness going on. The model kind of mixes together a bit. So we want to make sure we're not putting this contrast paint on so heavily that it's pooling. We really don't even want it pooling in the recesses all that much. Just a little bit, because like I said, we are going to be oil washing this later. And we don't want to obscure too many of the details right off the bat with the contrast paint. We just want to make sure that all this white is covered up. And that's one of the reasons I primed these in just white. I didn't do a zenithal on these at all, is because I knew I was going to be using a lot of contrast paints and oil washes, and in my opinion they look nicer over a just a white base coat. We'll get the gradients just fine, and these especially these little guys are small enough that it doesn't really matter too much. Alright, cool. So I'm going to do that to the other 5 and we'll be back. Alright, so now that we've got that done, we're going to take some Army Painter green tone. And I like this over Citadel shades just because of the shade that it is. I really like this green, but you could use any green tone wash that you have. So we'll just apply this wash pretty much all over. Okay. So it's basically just going to be giving everything here a green tint, and that's what we're going for. And then after this, we'll come in, add some highlights, pick out a few of the random details. On these guys, there's not a whole lot going on, so it'll be quick. And then we're going to dry brush some metallics onto the base after we do our oil wash. So yeah, well, let's get this done and we'll be back. Okay, so I've mixed up some black wash here with just regular oil paint and mineral spirits, and we're going to apply this as a very heavy wash just all over the entire thing, including the base. Okay, this is going to tint it down, make it a little grimier, a little grosser, and then we can pick out the details that we really want to stand out by wiping some of this off. So we'll get a Q-tip, wet it down with some mineral spirits, and wipe it down. So yeah, we'll just cover the entire thing like that. Make sure we don't miss anything. And then I'll do the rest of these and we'll come back with the Q-tip. Alright, so next up is going to be just cleaning these puppies off. So we've got a Q-tip here. I've got some mineral spirits. This is clear. You just can't tell if it's a dirty paint well. And then we're just going to come in with those mineral spirits and just clean up some of the bits that we want to stand out. Mainly going to be these carapaces on the heads. And there's some little bumps on these kneecaps here that we're going to pick out with paint. So we don't want to get rid of too much of the paint off of those guys. But yeah, we'll just go through and kind of clean these up a bit. And we'll go from there. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is take some Vallejo gunmetal and just do like a light pass, almost like a dry brush, but not quite, and just pick out some of these edges with the gunmetal, and that'll give this our kind of metallic floor grading look. Nothing fancy. Don't worry about getting in too deep or too close to the body parts. It's really not that important. This is more of an accent, especially on these smaller pieces. So I'm going to get the rest of these all done and we'll be back. Alright, so on this part we're going to be highlighting this guy as well as hitting some of the edges. And there are some little bumps on the knees here. We're going to hit those as well. So the first thing we're going to use to highlight this is going to be Ushabti bone from Citadel. And it's thinned down quite a bit, but basically all we're going to do is hit some of these edges. And the tops of these little bumps on the knees. I don't know if you can see that very well. Well, this is pretty thin because we don't want to go overboard and make it so bright that it does look like bone. So it's really not what it's supposed to be. But we at least want to get some highlights on these guys, make them stand out a little bit when they're on the table. Okay, so we're just going to hit some of these edges, like the tips of these little spinal protrusions here. Tops of these claw things. Okay. So we're going to do this and then we'll be back for the highlights. Alright, so I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this, but we're just going to take some Army Painter Poisonous Cloud and just hit these little bumps right here. Sorry if my head gets in the shot a little bit. This is really close. And we're just going to give these kind of a bright yellow, yellowish green on some of these bits here. Now this is going to be one of those things that obviously is going to be completely optional, and really from the tabletop it's not going to make any difference at all. But a lot of times when you take painted models to a game night, or your friends come over and you're playing a game and your models are painted, they're going to want to pick them up and look at them, and it is fun to kind of give a little extra to just say, hey, like, thanks for looking at my model, bro. Like, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you think it's cool. Here's something special for you to find, when you take a closer look. So we'll get some of that on there, and I think that'll do it. Let's actually, they don't have eyes, and their mouths are like up underneath their body. So I think that's going to do it for these guys. I'm going to hit the other ones, and then we'll just give them a base rim real quick, and we'll be done. Alright, now we've got that green on there. Let's just give us a quick base rim coat of black. We'll probably do 2 coats of this to make sure it's nice and even. And then our first set of invaders, the Larva from the Nemesis game, will be done. And we'll move on to something else next time. But as always, thanks for watching. Glad you're here. Let's paint something wicked.